Ashely Beck Cuellar. Welcome to the Entrepreneur Next Door.
Hello.
I suspect this is going to be a lot of fun because you're very energetic. So we'll dive right into this. Um, I'm going to go all over the place. I don't have a templated way of
That's fine.
talking to my guests. It's sort of like a fireside chat. I'm going to stop. I ask my guests to introduce themselves, but I'm going to reverse it today. So Ashley Cuellar, the short version, sales mama doing yoga and shining my light. The details: addicted to all things yoga and breathwork benefits, supporting working moms and women in revenue, ADHD, autism, and diversity advocate, mom to one, to stepson, which means there's a sneakerhead husband somewhere. Uh, and I love
Uh-huh.
this dog person with a cat because I'm a dog person and I don't like cats, so you're special. All right, so now that I did this, I want to let Ashley do her elevator
Yeah.
pitch. 30 seconds. Yes.
About me? Yeah. Well, so the dog person with the cat thing, I have two dogs one passed away recently. I have another one. My daughter convinced me to get a cat. And I love the cat. The cat is great. But I'm a dog person, and that's just all there is to it. Um, I've been in sales for 2 decades. I love everything about sales. I know that lots of people, the word sales feels icky. And I think that that's just the word, that really it's about building connections and building relationships. And that's what sales is. And that's what I love to do. So, yeah, the sneakerhead husband got me. I have more Jordans than I do heels. It's the truth. Because for every anniversary, birthday, Mother's Day, he gets me shoes and tennis shoes. And so I have tons of Jordans, and I have a bunch of Nike Air Maxes. That's what he likes to buy, and that's what he's good at buying. So I just let him keep doing it, and I love them. And my most recent pair has little people doing yoga on the shoe. They're Air Jordan ones, and they have little people doing yoga on the shoe, and they say inhale and exhale underneath the
Pref?
tongue on each side.
Pref? Okay,
They're the
so
best.
we're gonna roll
Yeah.
back the time machine and um did you grow up in Indiana or were you just there?
No, I did. I am from Kokomo, Indiana. I'm the oldest of four daughters. My mother was a high school biology teacher and a swim coach, and my father is an attorney. And he coached basketball teams and stuff. We were all athletes. All four of us were athletes. But I was raised in Kokomo, and then I moved to Indianapolis
All right,
after I
so
graduated from
if
college.
I bumped into you in Kokomo when you were 16 and I said, what do you want to be when you grow up? Um, go.
I probably, when I was 16, would have told you that I was going to be in sports marketing. That's what I thought I wanted to do. I thought when I got into IU, and I was having to pick a major, which is kind of crazy that we make 18-year-olds decide what they're going to do for the rest of their life when they're signing up for college. I picked sports marketing and management as my major. And the marketing part of me is still there. But I, I at some point decided I thought I wanted to be a teacher. But 16-year-old Ashley definitely thought that she wanted to be in marketing, in professional sports,
Right.
and
Well, as a
that
mom
was
is a
where it was
swim
at for
coach and
her.
a dad who does basketball, I was going to guess something with sports, but wasn't too far off. Um,
Yeah.
but you started your career after college in the wedding industry.
I did. I was an assistant wedding director, or assistant wedding planner. She did lots of events, but I usually only helped on the weekends with the weddings. So I did lots of that, and that was so fun. I thrive in chaos, and so when things need to be done quickly and they're on a schedule and everybody's running around, I thrive in that atmosphere. And so wedding planning and like the day of event coordination was something I really enjoyed. But I also was in restaurants. I was the general manager of a restaurant right out of college that I had waitressed for the couple. during college, and they also owned a like sandwich and sub and pizza place, and their general manager was pregnant and having a baby. And so I took that over for a couple of years. I think I only did that for like 2 years. And then that's when I moved to Indianapolis and started the wedding planning stuff. And did that for a couple of years before I started with
Right.
what
So
was
then
formerly
you
TriAuto.
dive into the universe of sales with TriAuto. Um, and we're definitely going to talk sales, and I will let you in on a small set. We have a similar background. I'm a marketing guy who by design got into sales simply because when I was doing marketing, which is more than 3 decades ago, people didn't really understand what marketing was about. And they used to think of us as the guys that sit in a room, roll their eyes, look in the ceiling, and came up with some funky campaigns. But the risk was that every time the company experienced revenue decline or there was a recession, the first guys to be fired and be let go were always the marketing guys because we were considered the expense side of the equation. And I love marketing and I'm still a marketer and that's my creative brain and that's what I do. But as a relatively new immigrant, I figured out that if I got into sales, which is where the job security is, because you can't fire sales, you shouldn't fire salespeople, right? If I could do both, then I could do what I love, but also put up with the sales piece, which I absolutely didn't like. But over a pretty extensive career, I was in sales and I spent most of the rest of the time in sales management, recruiting, training, etc. So yes, most of us in my audience are entrepreneurs, small business owners. I would say without exception, all of us don't like sales. Okay. Plus, it's a necessary evil, and the connotations, like you said, even in the 21st century, right? It's still negative connotations.
Yeah.
Primarily, and I want to give kudos to whoever is responsible for that, which is car dealerships, right? If you're going to go buy a car, you know why people hate sales, right? That's why. So go ahead.
I was going to say, well, so my sales career
Yeah,
was selling to
that's
car
why
dealerships.
I'm doing this whole
So I,
introduction to kind of set
yeah.
you up, uh, because but the secret I was going to share with you that all my years in sales, I always felt to this day that the best salesperson, bar none, is a woman, not a man. But and
Love
I'm
it.
sitting in front of
Love to
one who
hear it.
spent 16, 20 years in sales, and I want to dive into it. And the reason why I feel this was because um, there's still the old stupid misconception that to be a successful salesperson, you need to be aggressive and pushy and quickly think on your feet on how you can get the customer to buy. You know, it's like there's still it's still there, and a lot of times when you come across a sales function, even today, and I fault people who train salespeople because they're the ones that should be fired, not the salespeople. I've always said that, right? Try the sales manager at salespeople because they don't know what they're doing. If they're training robots and they don't teach them how to do it right, then you're gonna have turnover, etc. Right? So I'm speaking a lot, but that's sort of my introduction.
Yep.
That I think you're the poster child of what I've always believed in, that the best salesperson is a woman. Uh, I'll throw in my other one, which is the best salespeople are those that have started to understand marketing, not the other way around. Salespeople who don't know marketing, uh, maybe are going to make it, but not really going to be successful. And there's a reason for it, right? So let's talk about you started with TriAuto and then you spend most of your career with PERQ, PERQ.
Yeah, PERQ. So PERQ is
Hmm.
actually TriAuto. So the guys that founded TriAuto built the business on direct mail advertising. So, and they learned how to drop ship the mail, which taught they learned how to save a bunch of money and do things a different way. So it kind of put them as a leader in the industry for a while. And then they learned to add technology to the direct mail. And so that advertising side of the business was very cash flush, and we were just cranking out money over there. Well, actually, I started in 2007, and in 2008, dealerships were literally closing their doors. Lots of dealerships closed their doors. It was, hard economy, a lot of things like that. So, like you said, I was a salesperson, so I got to keep my seat because I was paying for myself with that 1 or 2 deals at a time I was getting, even with the economy being not so great. And then things started to flourish and got a little better, and they added the technology to it, and we kept cranking along over on the advertising side. Well, they were using the cash from that advertising business to then build a software business as well, which they called PERQ. And then they decided to just brand all of it PERQ. But I never left the automotive direct mail side. As you can imagine, the auto industry is about as good old boys club as it comes. And so if you can learn to get in there, it's kind of hard to get out because you've made your way in there, and it's hard to train somebody else to do that job and to get in with those guys and, to manage their personalities, because they are all high D, like just, you got to be ready to go with all of them. So, that atmosphere, I stayed in that and kept doing that for so long because I was really good at it. It was hard to train somebody else to do it. And I was selling to some of the toughest salespeople that are like the sharkiest, grimiest kind of salespeople, like you said, and using not like tech, selling to them in a way that they don't sell to other people. And I think that's probably part of what made me successful, is that I was interested in building a relationship with them. And I was always curious and asking them more questions about what they were doing and what their goals were for the next quarter, for the next year, or this, that, and the other. And they weren't those type of people necessarily. They want to like sell the person while they're in the
So
door
you were
and then let
selling
them go and
to
forget about it.
salespeople in the auto industry.
Yes, I am selling
Okay.
directly to, I was previously, and I kind of still am, with some of this new stuff I have going on, but selling directly to general managers of car dealerships, or like COOs, CMOs of large dealer groups. So that is who I was always doing business with in my career, and it's
So
kind of
you
still
were
who I'm doing
selling
business
them
with today.
marketing automation solutions that can expose the dealership to buyers in their area. I'm okay.
Correct. Correct. Yep. We were, and marketing, remarketing to their own customer database, things like that, direct mail marketing strategies for stores that then, over time we added technology to it. And, like you do a mailer and you do an event on
Mhm.
Facebook at the
Yeah,
same
and
time,
car
things like that.
salespeople in particular, they really suck at the one thing that is a no-brainer, which is stay connected to your customer, because at some point they're going to change cars, or somebody else in the family is going to want a car. And
Mhm.
without exception, and obviously I'm older and I bought quite a few cars. The only time they will surprise the hell out of me with a phone call is when the economy is down and things are so slow. Somebody gave them a list instead. Well, while you're sitting at that wooden desk that's about to fall apart, just call some people, see if they need a car, right? It's that's why I said that
Yeah.
if car dealers train their salespeople to understand marketing, right? To really understand what's behind the automation that you're providing them, that it's a way to reconnect, but then you've got to do the work. And when I was running sales training and sales workshop, my favorite thing was to look at a room full of people, salespeople, and say, what's the number one rule in sales, right? And I would say more often than not, they will all regurgitate what they've heard from other people. And we'd say, well, God gave you two ears and one mouth, so don't talk too much, right? Something like that. Listen, which they all violate. And
Yeah.
I would say, no, that's not it. And I was like, what? And I said, do you want to know what the number of real sales? For God's sakes, don't sell. Right? Right? So, and
Exactly.
they don't get it. They don't get
Exactly.
it. And that's why I fought the sales managers and the people that hire and oversee and supervise salespeople, because they're the ones that are clueless. If you want to train robots, give them quota and ride their ass all day, to you're not providing them with a
Yep,
culture that
totally.
actually allows them to like what they do. So they'll come to work and they
Yep.
reluctantly make the calls and maybe they get lucky, right? So that brings me to
Yep.
I'm gonna do this because that's like tipping my hat to you. So you made, according to you, and I believe you, close to or over 100,000 cold calls. Okay.
Oh yeah. And I just did that math. Like
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
obviously didn't count them or track them
It's okay.
necessarily
I
anyway.
mean, I believe it.
Yeah.
16, 20 years of doing sales and starting from the ground up in certain industries, that's what you have to do. Now, another confession,
Yep.
I hate cold calling. I always believed, even 20 years ago, that it was intrusive and unprofessional. Yet there's some industries to this day that continue to do it, which is financials, insurance, right? Um, but the thing that astounds me, it's kind of like I'm throwing a question to you, is it's 21st century, right?
Yeah.
I don't answer my cell phone if the person is not in my contact
Hmm.
list. I won't do it. I have spam blockers and I have the robocall things. Uh, they still get through because their technology is more sophisticated than the blockers. I won't answer it, and if it's somebody that needs me, they'll leave a voicemail, and then I can return my calls. But yet, so we live in a century, in a universe of so many different tools that allow us to ignore the calls, and yet people still have salespeople make cold calls. Ashely Beck, tell me why they do
They do.
this.
And I do not know. I do not know. I do not know. I don't believe in it as a when I train people, I never say that there's only one tool to use. Sales is, you got to use all the tools you got in the bag, and you got to use the stuff that works best for you. But I don't think that, like you said, in the world that we live in today, that if I think that a prospect, if I think that somebody needs the solution that I have and I want to help them, I would prefer to learn more about them. And I'm able to do that because most people have social media where I can find a little bit more about them before I reach out to them.
Yeah.
And LinkedIn is especially a wonderful place to be able to find those people you're looking for, comment on things that they're posting, comment, on things that they've commented on. And so they've already seen your name, their name, things that they've enjoyed and commented on. That's not a cold call. No, they don't know me and they've never met me before, but it's not a cold call. I've warmed it up. I've learned things about them. And I've learned that they do need the solution that I have, probably even by that point. And so it's not just me calling and saying, hey, did you need a pen? Because I have lots of pens and I would love to sell them to you. Like I already know that they posted something about, not liking the pen that they currently have. It's that type of thing. And I don't know, I think that the only reason, when software sales boomed and became the thing, when I was hired in 2007, I was kind of like a BDR. And so I don't really ever say that I was in that role because I was full cycle sales always. But then when software became such a big thing in software sales, they split those roles up and made it a closing role and then an account management role, right? And the relationship gets lost there, and the seller has built a relationship with that person in order to make sure that the solution is correct for the buyer and that they have everything they need. And if you're a good seller, you don't want to just let go of that and then have somebody else taking care of them for the rest of their relationship with your company. I mean, I think that the way that software sales made that split made it to where then the other large tech companies and large companies think that, okay, well, we'll just throw 100,000 calls on the dialer and get 15 meetings out of that, and then we can move those. And they do. They must, because if they really legitimately weren't booking meetings from doing it, they would stop doing it. But they must be. The same reason why do people start emails with, I hope this email finds you well. Well, I already know that you don't know me because you started it that way.
Yeah,
I mean, but
or
people still
starting the
do it.
sales call
So
with,
they're,
Ashely, you don't know me, but this is not a sales call, right? It is so going to be a sales call, dude. Don't, that's not how we start the call, right? But that's why if you train salespeople
no.
in marketing and they truly understand what marketing is about, it's marketing first, sales second. So to me, the sales piece is really the transactional part of, at some point somebody has to hand you money, okay? And that's where everybody fails. They just don't get it. So back to my comment before, the people that split the sales from the closer, right? The account management. You got a hot one, they're interested, throw them over the cubicle. Ashely's going to take them. Why? Why? It's all about
That makes
relationships,
no
right?
sense.
It's
Yeah.
about, that's why women make best to best salespeople,
Yeah.
because you understand, you're emotionally driven, you understand empathy, you're a better listener, you can connect with us more often than not, right? In a
Mm-hmm.
more nurturing,
Mm-hmm.
empathetic, compassionate way. Um, and of course, the other side of the coin, of I'm sure you went through, when you're up against a domineering male chauvinistic type A, B, C, D, whatever you want to call them. Um, they want to take you for, they want to run you around, right? They want to prove something, right? And so you kind of have to outsmart
Mm-hmm.
them and make them feel they're winning, but they're really not, right? So the people that
Yeah,
split it into
absolutely.
sales and account management, or okay, you cultivated the leads, you connected them, now go. It's just fire the sales manager. Okay, I know why they do this, and I'm
Well,
going to
yeah,
shut up in a second. They do this because they say, well, if
yeah.
you're that good in making the calls and getting people hooked in, I don't want to interrupt you. Then keep hooking, and we'll take it over. No,
Yeah. I know, but in that, you then once you move that person from here to here, and then if this person starts to struggle, what they always want to do is call this person back in. Well, you already asked this person to stop that relationship and move it over. So now they can't help you as much. So you're now you got two people lost in the relationship. And I think, I mean, 17 years of selling direct mail to car dealerships, I never had a single client on a contract. It was a one-time transaction. They didn't have to use me ever again after that. And so I learned to build relationships like it was my job, because that was what I needed to do to keep them buying direct mail from me and using my solution. But I also think that one of the reasons that sellers end up winning is if you are looking, and this is why cold calling is ridiculous. If you look at how you like to buy and you sell to people more that way, you are more likely to get people that want to buy, because you're not. Do you like it when people are blowing up your phone and saying, hey, this is a sales, I know you don't know me, this isn't a sales call? No, you don't. Nobody enjoys that. So if you approach people the way you want to be approached, then you're much more likely to win in that game and to be able to provide them with a
so
solution and be able
yeah.
to help
So
that
there's another
person.
example that happened just the other day. So I have another new car, and Sirius XM called me. They said, and this lady she was nice. She said, you have a new car, your premium subscription or platinum, whatever, is expiring in a few days. And I said, excuse me for interrupting you, but that's my wife's car. And she has no interest in SiriusXM. She won't listen to it. She doesn't want it. Yes, but I didn't want her to miss out on the opportunity, and I want to extend it to you. And I said, look, it doesn't matter. I know my wife. She's not interested. I'm a loyal customer. I've had SiriusXM for 15 years. I can see that you're not. Okay, that's good. I'm with you. She's not into it. But we have so many great channels for her to listen to. Look, I don't want to be rude. Okay, do you mind if I send you an email with all the channels? I said, I hung up on her. I would rarely do that. I
Yeah.
would rarely do that.
And that's hard, right?
But you know what? It's just,
Yeah.
and the same thing happens with support calls with certain people, right? You train them to be a robot. They read a script.
Hmm.
They don't listen. And just
Hmm.
take a minute, do
Yeah.
the Ashely Beck yoga exercise before you dial the phone or pick up the phone, and just listen. I just told you what my problem is.
Yeah.
Okay. Then you're going to repeat the problem to me because that's tech
Yeah.
support calls. You're going to repeat it to me. If I understand correctly, yes. And then
Yep.
you're going to proceed to give me a solution that's completely useless, like a list of URLs and website links. No, I called you and I'm on chat support because I'm stuck and I need your help. So, Ashley, let's help the rest of my audience. If we told them that cold calling sucks and I'm professional, how do you grow your business then?
Honestly, the company that I was with prior didn't believe quite as much in LinkedIn as I do. But I wholeheartedly believe that if you are in a revenue producing position, which if you are a solopreneur, you are the only person in a revenue producing position, that you need to have at least some sort of presence on LinkedIn and be engaging with people there, because it is a much different atmosphere than it was in 2008 when I started my profile on LinkedIn. And there's so much more to learn, to be inspired by, people to meet, people who want to get to know other people, and who want to be helpful. And I think that that is something that if you're in a revenue producing position and you can start to look at sales through a different lens. So people ask me all the time. I still
Yeah.
do lots of, like coffee chats. And people are always, why do you do those all the time if they're, not with your ICP, with my perfect client? And I say, because I might have a solution. I might know someone that person needs to know. And I might have a solution that's going to help them somewhere down the road. And that person, who knows who they know? They might know somebody else that needs my solution. And so looking at it through such an abundant lens and just meeting people and networking and getting to know how you can help other people ends up coming full circle. And I wholeheartedly believe that if you are trying to find customers, trying to build pipeline, trying to find new prospects, that you can do a lot of that on LinkedIn, and then you can do it so much more personally than if you're
Mhm.
just dialing for dollars. I mean, that old boiler room bro culture, bang the gong
Yeah.
thing. I'm just not into that. That's how it was at the old company, and it went away after a while, but it's not about that. It's about finding the right, and this is also why the yoga stuff is in my headline, because I'm more likely to buy from somebody if they do yoga, just because it's something that I have in common with them. And those are personal, important things that matter to me. And so if I can learn personal, important things that matter to you, and we connect on that level, then I'm definitely gonna, look at you as a prospect and try to build a relationship with you, and then hopefully be able to have a solution that works
So
for whatever problem it is that we're
it's on
solving.
my list to talk yoga soon, but I'm gonna stick with LinkedIn because uh,
Yeah.
so it's a networking platform. From the first day it came out, I thought it was a brilliant concept, right? Here's how the whole concept of networking and relationships is simple, right? Okay, I'm gonna connect with Ashley. I look at
Yeah.
Ashley's connections, and if I see somebody that I may want to have an introduction to, and I ask you to, could you introduce me to? But that brings up my networking peeve. Okay, and I don't want to sound like a complainer. I'm challenging us for a more dynamic conversation, right? So I'm going back to my networking days, the physical networking days when I started almost 13 years ago, and
Yeah.
everybody said if you want to grow as a business coach, you need to network. So I network the heck out of everything. I went to Chamber of
Yeah.
Commerce meetings. I went to networking functions of specific
Mhm.
industries. I tested different organized networking groups like LitTip and BNI. I've done that for a year really intensively because that's the kind of way I'm wired. I'm either going to do it as a crazy man or I'm going to not do it at all. And I've had
Same.
way too many coffee meetings that I care to remember, at the end of which everybody tried to sell me something. All these networking people, right? And at some point, I said, at the end of that year, I said, I'm not going to do this anymore. I'm wasting so much time
Yeah.
on networking with people that don't have a pot to piss in and sell me something, as opposed to spending my time doing what I know how to do, which is marketing and business development for myself, right? So that there's an opportunity cost there in doing that. Um, Networking didn't work for me the way it works for other people. Maybe because I was so frustrated by it, and I joined. Um, I'll leave their name out to protect the guilty, but it's an initial networking group. And we did the thing
Okay.
like every week at 7 a.m. We sat around the table and everybody got up and did their thing. And then you do one-on-ones with everyone and you have coffee. And the referrals that I got were just because they needed to get on the board as I gave referrals, but they were frustrating. It wasn't working like this. If you look at LinkedIn, it's sort of like an electronic networking platform that started as a brilliant
Mhm.
concept, but now, because of the technology and emails and some of the robot and automated system that everybody developed for LinkedIn, it's also has become a giant spam machine where constant interruption.
Yeah.
So the
It's
equivalent
true.
of a cold call is the messages that I get all day on LinkedIn for people that are pitching me, right? And
Yes.
um, and again,
Yeah.
90% of the time, it's like a cold call sales by a badly trained person, right? I can see that you're a yoga instructor now. No, I'm not a yoga instructor. It says yoga in my name because I
Yeah.
love yoga.
Yeah.
Stupid stuff like this. So, uh,
Yeah. Well, a
yeah,
lot of those are AI written, and I'm not bashing AI because a lot of great uses for AI, but a lot of those are, fully written by somebody typing in a prompt and saying, what should I say to
mhm,
a person that looks like this if I want
yeah.
them to
And
do
then,
this?
so how do we, because there's so much of it, it's truly dominating and I'm not saying it's getting worse, but it's getting better in terms of sophistication of, yeah, I'll even write the post for
Mhm.
you and I'll even chase people, ask for connections and give them a recommendation and comment on their postings. So you know better than me because you're well connected and you're very active and you're connected with some people who are mega icon celebrities on LinkedIn, like your friend Alex, yeah, um,
LinkedIn liberties.
that to do this right it requires hard work, right?
Yeah, it does. But so does everything. And it's so funny that you bring that up because it's one of the questions that people ask all the time. And that people are always wanting to know, well, how much time do you spend doing it? How much time do you spend creating content, leaving comments, replying to comments, those things? And the answer is different every day, but I spend as much time, I put as much effort into it as I want to get if as results that I want to get out. And so I know that if I put more effort into what I'm doing on LinkedIn, that I will get more leads out of it. But I also don't see it as a number one lead machine for anything, but there are people that do, and there are people that are very successful using it as a lead machine. But I just think that you have to stay authentic to who you are and not give into the bots and the things like that. And just truly look at it as a relationship building platform and as a learning platform. Because I think that I have learned a ton from following around other people that create content. Like there are some really great salespeople that have
Yeah.
some great content out there, and I love learning from them and following them because honestly, with the remote world the way it is, these are my coworkers. LinkedIn is where my coworkers are. I don't have any other coworkers necessarily that are definitely none in my state. And they're all over the place. And so when I need a break for a minute, I go to the water cooler at LinkedIn and I comment on a couple people's comments and, read a couple people's posts. So I know that I breeze past the stuff, like I know which
Mm,
comments are disingenuous and weren't actually written by the person. And I can breeze past that stuff. But I also, like I said, even though I believe in LinkedIn and I believe in the power of LinkedIn and of networking, um, I take it off the platform too. I just posted recently about a meeting, like getting to a meeting, that
yeah,
it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
a linear path, right? Like I met a friend locally who introduced me to a guy because the guy has a business that involves camper vans. And my friend knows that I'm obsessed with camper vans and want to own one. And that's the only reason he connected us. But then that guy invited me to come to a lunch and learn for some interns. Another guy's name came up. They introduced me to him, and then I ended up with a meeting that will likely bring a decent amount of revenue. So it's being open to the universe and just doing things to be a good person and to be helpful to the next person and not looking at everything as like a knockdown drag out sale that I have to either have a yes or no at the end of this meeting.
Yeah.
Just build a relationship with the person.
Yeah, and
Just be a
and
friend.
I'm kind of
I
like
mean,
I'm obsessed with LinkedIn, not in terms of the time I spent on it, because I tried different iterations of how much time to spend on LinkedIn. The best one was first thing in the morning, once I clean my stuff, I'll go in and start to look at people I follow and what they post and comment on it. Before I turn around, it was 3, 4 hours because it's engaging and it's fun. But more than that, I kind of look at people
yeah,
who are successful on LinkedIn. And so here's the question. So how do we measure success on LinkedIn, right? So for the,
yeah.
I'd say the average person, me being one of them, success on LinkedIn is that if I took the time to post something that I believe has value, then the number of comments and shares is an indication that people liked what I just posted and they felt it was so valuable to them. They shared with other people, right? And I looked at your posts and I don't remember how many people you have followers on LinkedIn, but it's not mega, right? Yeah,
Not at
so you
all.
have six,
Only like 6,500 or
but when
so.
you
It's
look
not,
at
I don't
your,
have a ton.
and as I was spending a couple of hours studying you, I looked at the interactions on your postings, and they are impressive relative to the number of people that you have following you, right? Because it's all a number, right? So I look at somebody and I see that they have, oh, they
Mhm.
posted something and they have 175 comments. And I would say, wow, holy crap, that's impressive. But then I look at their network and they're 12, 15, 20,000 followers. Okay, I could throw a stone anywhere and hit someone. It's going to work. Not taking away
Yeah,
from the quality of
yeah.
what they do, but and again, I follow some of them and I know the road that they took in order to get to 10, 15, 20,000 followers. And I think I figured
Hmm.
it out. I'm not going to do it because at this point in my life and career, I have other priorities, but um, they share. So there's one of two things. There is the content that offers value, meaning what I just wrote about is going to improve your work life, improve how you do things, teach you something new, will allow you to get better at something, right? That's great content. There's a bunch of
Yep,
people that do this
yep,
on all aspects of
yep.
marketing. They share what they know openly, and you can learn from them, right? Obviously, if you love them so
Yeah.
much and they are specialists in email marketing, that you're going to hire them. The other side is where I think Facebook is beginning to cross. It's like a Facebook type post that's now blurs the line between a business post and a personal post, right? You do some of that, or quite a lot of that, and you get good reactions for it. And I think you get good reactions for, like, if I was training you on how to use LinkedIn, and you sent me as your coach a photo of you, I think it was today or maybe yesterday, right? Of sticking your tongue out, right? That's me, right? That's me today, right?
Oh, yeah.
Then 9 out of 10 people are going to tell you, no, Ashley, no, it's not professional. You don't stick your tongue out on LinkedIn. Okay, da, da, da. But the reality is, I think it's a break from the standard boring stuff that people feel confined to use on LinkedIn. It's you come out as the way you are, right? This is me. I'm going to do a cartwheel
Yep.
with a soft drink,
Yep.
or I'm going to stick my tongue at you,
Yep.
or I'm going to show you a photo of me on the top of Mountain in Utah because I just finished a 10K mile and I don't look professional. I don't have my hair made done. I'm just standing at the. I think we all want that
Yep.
break, right? So
Yep.
am I wrong? It's like it's one of the two. There's
Yeah.
no in between.
No, you're not. It's actually, that's why LinkedIn is starting to grow, is because it's becoming a little bit more user friendly. But still, the thing that you hear the most is, I'm scared to post because I'm afraid that people won't like what I have to say. And that's definitely where I started too. But I started to comment first. I started just to show up first and to like just look at what was there and then comment a little bit here and there. And actually, I used about a year ago, when I very first started posting, I used to post what the menu was for dinner for my family for the week, because that was what I was comfortable with. I knew that I'm a good cook and I plan good meals, and like that was what I was comfortable posting. And I just found supportive people. And I think that that is a big part of it, is that the community that you build on LinkedIn, if you build community with people that you really enjoy and who really enjoy you, then they want to support you and they want to see you win. And so they show up and they help,
Yeah.
they end up connecting you. So, just looking at my analytics from, what you just said, I know that the posts that get the most engagement for me are always things that are borderline for some people, that people have, other people who don't post on LinkedIn and who aren't used to it would be like, oh my gosh, I would never post that on LinkedIn. I
Yeah.
would never say that. Like one of my most popular posts, I'm holding a coffee mug that says "Good morning, asshole," and it is a post about, do we cuss in business or do we not? Like, do you use potty language or no?
Yeah.
And so that post, some people would be like, never cuss. You can't cuss on LinkedIn. HR might see, or whatever it is.
I
But
apologize
people want
looking
to talk about
down
it.
because I just heard somebody come in and I
No,
just
it's okay.
texted I'm on a podcast because usually they'll run down and start screaming. Yeah, you know what? It takes tremendous amount of courage to post that mug with, a word that people, because I think we're all craving um transparency and for people to be who they are as opposed to play a role on LinkedIn. Oh, I'm super successful.
Authenticity.
Look at me. I did this, I
Yeah.
did that, I did that. Who cares? People connect with people. And if you can remove the veil of bullshit away from yourself. I did a test, I was a year ago, because I got really frustrated. I would post something and I'd get some comments, and sometimes I'll get nothing. And as much as the little voice in my head said, "Who cares, right? Stop looking at the comments. We're human,
Yeah.
right?" And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I
We
I did a
can't.
test where I did a post, and one was about my daughter's dog, who's really cute, to multi-poo, and one was about Mother Teresa. And guess who won in terms of engagements? The dog won. The dog won,
The,
right? And so you'd say, this is not Facebook, it's LinkedIn. But then I noticed, yes, there's some people that stick to professional content, value added, and some people like you and some other people that I know that just say, listen, I have something to say. Just going to share it with you, okay? If you like it, fine. You don't like it, don't. Who cares? So,
I
yeah,
mean, people want to be seen. People want to know that other people have the same feelings as them. And so some of the times when I'm doing when those really personal posts and the really vulnerable things, um, it's it's because I know that there are other people out there feeling that way who aren't saying it and who want to connect with somebody and want to know that
yeah,
somebody else feels that way.
yeah. So,
Everybody does.
so let's talk about how did you get into yoga? Because you're in a sales world and it's hyper and it's pressure,
Uh-huh.
right? And then
Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Yep. And I also have ADHD, and I was it's kind of rare that a female especially of my age was diagnosed as young as I was, but I was diagnosed when I was 13, 12 or 13. And I medicated a little bit in high school, but I didn't like the way it made me feel. So I stopped using the medication and tried, just learned to build coping skills around what I needed. And then I learned that yoga was really helpful for all of that fast moving brain. Like I said earlier, that I thrive in chaos. Um, I have trouble shutting chaos off sometimes. And so my brain just going nonstop. I had to learn how to turn it off. And yoga is what helped me do that. And running. I've gone through spurts with running where it's my therapy. But yoga is the one thing that has stuck, that it's always there. I always need it. My husband can tell if I have missed yoga for too many days. Like he's like, have you been missing yoga? Do you need to go to the studio? And so, and then when the pandemic hit and there was no going to the gym, there was no going to the studio, the only thing I had was that my studio streamed live classes so that we could practice at home, and the instructor was there speaking. And so it got me through a lot in the pandemic. I mean, my daughter was 4, and Lord, I was not built to be a preschool teacher. And it was taking all of my energy to do the job that I was supposed to be doing and a job that I was not built to be doing. And so yoga was my solace. That was my grace. That was my place that I could go and be quiet and shut my brain down. And I think that because of my regular practice, I started regularly practicing during the pandemic and carried through. And so 4 years now of practicing almost 5 times a week, probably most weeks. It has changed my brain matter. It changes how I respond to the world. It changes how I respond to stress and pressure. And I mean, it just has changed so many things about the way that I handle the world. And so I finally, my instructor, has been kind of at me forever and like, when are you going to become an instructor? And so this January, I finally decided to get my teacher training certificate. So I did that, and I have been teaching yoga at the studio now. But you asked about the side hustle thing that I posted about. I should find out this afternoon, so it's very timely. But there's a private school down the road from me that asked me if I wanted to teach yoga 1 period a day for their high school students to be able to use as a gym elective. And I absolutely love that idea. And when I actually put it on the calendar after I made that post, it only comes out to 3 times a week. So it's only 3 times a week that I have to go do this, and not have to get to. When I talked to my husband about it, he said, you would do this once a week for free. So if they're going to pay you to do it 3 times a week, you should do it. And it doesn't take away from, it's a lunch break, I mean, I can still do business, and I can still live my life, and I can still do the other things I want to do, and I can share yoga with the next generation, because yoga is becoming a much more popular
So
thing.
for
there are,
those of us who are not I had a client and I was her business coach. She's a yogi master, and she's a teacher, very successful at it now. But for those of us who are not that familiar, what's the difference between yoga and meditation? Because I know some people who swear by meditation, but that's different, isn't it?
yes, it's different. Yoga is just moving meditation. So what we would call meditation, and there are other forms of moving meditation. You can walk in the woods and be meditating as long as you are focusing your brain. So a lot of people get meditation wrong too, in that it's that you are ridding your brain of thoughts, that you're emptying all the thoughts out of your brain, but you're really just acknowledging the thoughts that are there and letting them flow through and not giving them any extra energy as you're meditating. And so yoga is just the pairing of breathing and movement And so it's moving meditation, and using your body and your breath to meditate. When I am in hot yoga and it's 99 degrees in the classroom and I'm trying to remember the sequence that I've been given and I'm breathing so hard, there's no way I could possibly be
Yeah.
focusing on anything else. And so that gives my brain that time to not be thinking about the world around me, not be thinking about what deals I need to close, or what I got to make for dinner. I'm only focused on myself and my mat and my
So it's
breath,
funny
and that's
because it
it.
was like before
And that,
before the
and so,
pandemic, because I do a lot of sports and I have back issues, and I said, I'm going to try Bikram yoga, which is the hot yoga. And there's one around us, and she offered, I don't know, it was like $29, 10 sessions. So I wanted to try it out, and it was in the winter. So I live in New York, so I get dressed up, I put my sweats on. It's my winter uniform is just sweats, top and bottom. And off I go into
yeah.
the yoga and I walk in. He said, "Oh, hey, hi, Amy. Hi, Zev. Great. You can grab a mat. Thank you so much." I go inside and I sit there. And all these people are stretching in poses that I would never even dream. I would never even dream to attempt them. Um, and so the instructor comes in and she looks and she says, "Okay, kids, what do you think? 104 today?" I don't know what she's talking about. I guess she's talking about they like the hot temperature at 104. Um, I have to say, Ash, I almost died that day. I mean, they must have looked at me and said, "Who is this idiot that came in with sweats to a hot yoga?" Because I thought it was about sweating, and it wasn't a beginner class. So by the time she said, "Let's do this," and I'm trying to figure out what I'm doing, they're like three poses forward already. I tried it again, came
Mhm.
in dressed
Yeah,
appropriately. It was absolutely tough. So I get it.
it is. It is. I mean, people think that, so the vision of yoga that a lot of people have is what I call gym yoga. And it is, not quite what flow yoga like you did, like the Bikram style, like that. That is the kind of yoga that I teach now, but it is very hard. And we always recommend that new students come to a slower class first, because there are classes where we talk and move much slower, like you were saying. And then there are classes where I talk the poses through really fast and
Yeah,
people are moving really
yeah.
fast. And that's just the pace of that class. And so we try not to have new people in there, but I try to talk to new people before they come into class and explain to them what's going to happen. And I always just say, you know, this is not about perfection. I don't care what you look like. The lights are out. Nobody else cares what you look like. If you don't know what to do, just look at the person next to you and try to do something similar to what they're doing. And
Yeah,
eventually you'll learn. So, but I know that yoga is very intimidating to many people because
yeah.
of the crazy poses and things like that, but it can be such a different thing in as far as mobility, and just stretching and keeping your body
I did look at the
healthy
person
as you
next to me,
age.
and she was twisted like a pretzel. It hurt. It hurt for me just to look at her. So one last question in yoga.
Ugh.
There's a concept in yoga that's called being present, right? And it's pretty common
Yeah,
when you do yoga and when you talk about stuff, yoga particularly. Explain to an 8-year-old what being present means. And I'm particularly talking about yoga, even though this is a business podcast. But my audience are entrepreneurs, and we're
yeah,
all of us are entrepreneurs and small business owners. Live a fairly stressful roller coaster life because we have to make sure that things
yeah,
are working the right way, or there is nothing to eat the next day. And so this is valuable to be able to break away and you could do yoga and close the
yeah.
door in your office, or you can just go in your car and sit there and do. But so what does being present mean to a non-professional?
Yeah. So if I was explaining it to my daughter, who is 8, I would tell her being present means that while you and I are sitting here talking, you are hearing the words that I am saying, and you are listening to the words that I am saying, and I am hearing and listening to the words that you are saying. And we're not focused on any other thoughts in our brain. We're just focused on each other and the conversation that we're having right now, and not thinking about What am I going to make for dinner? What do I have to do in the future? That is about that's what it is. That's what's hard for entrepreneurial brains and brains that are used to thriving in chaos. It's hard to turn off that faucet of constant thoughts. And so that's what being present is in yoga, is being able to turn off that faucet of thought. And you can't. They still happen. They still come in. Like I was saying about my practice, even when I'm, drowning in sweat, it still crosses my mind every once in a while, what am I going to post on LinkedIn? And it's just about taking the next breath and breathing that out and not letting that thought go, and just get back into the practice and get back into the breathing and be present where you are. Meditation was really hard for me. Meditation without yoga was exceptionally hard for me because my brain is like that and constantly moving. There is a tool called the Core Meditation Trainer, and it's by a company called Hyperion, and it's a little orb, it's a little ball that has sensors on it, and you hold it in your hands and you put your thumbs on the sensors, and it pairs with an app that does a guided meditation, and the little orb like vibrates softly in the pattern that they want you to breathe while you're focusing and doing this breathing meditation. And to have that tactile orb in my hands helped me focus my brain on just that moment and what they're talking about and not letting my brain go. So I recommend that tool to anybody that wants to, because a lot of people want to get into a meditation practice, but just don't know how. And they think that meditation means they have to sit in silence for 30 minutes. And that is not it. You can meditate for 2 minutes. You can meditate for 5 minutes. Anytime you give your brain a break from all that constant buzzing, you're meditating. And so it truly is a beneficial practice, especially for people that are on the go all the time, constant brain moving. I would recommend meditation even before yoga to anyone.
Great advice. If it's, and again, whether you have ADHD or not, everybody who's an entrepreneur and owns a business and have a team, even if you're alone, the thoughts are nonstop because things happen all day, right? It's where am I going to get clients? And working for a client, is a client going to be happy? And what if the client fire me? Do I have a pipeline of other things that I'm working on? And oh, by the way, there's a work-life balance where there's another side of the business world, which means my life. And then, okay, I wanted to go to the gym today, but I couldn't because, and now I'm stressed out. It's nonstop, right? And the best way that we can succeed as people, but particularly as business people, is to have clarity and focus in the work that we do, no matter what it is, right? And the ones that have it are the ones that can set goals and can execute and have the presence of mind to focus and be clear. The ones that don't are all over the place, and eventually they can get lucky and make some money, but eventually they all get to what we call in the business coaching world the stuck position, right? They're stuck. So
yeah, for sure. And meditation is a thing that I think if you talked to a lot of founders and entrepreneurs that are very successful, you would find that a lot of them have a meditation practice. And a lot of them practice yoga even. And the breath, focusing on the breath is how you bring it back to the present. You were asking about the present. And when your mind starts to wander in a meditation and you just focus on the air coming in through your nose and the air coming out through your nose, or if you're, in through your nose and out through your mouth, however you're choosing to breathe, if you just focus on those actions, you bring yourself right back to the present and all those other thoughts float away. And it like you said, all moving all the time, you have to find those moments of peace for your brain or you will burn out. You will not just get stuck, you will burn out. And so I just learned that it's a necessary thing for my life. It's necessary for me to take those times to shut my brain down.
Time for some rapid questions for you.
Okay.
In looking back in the past 20 years, maybe it's not so rapid, not this one. What is one thing you recognize as was a big mistake you made? What'd you learn from?
Well, I will say this. So I don't do regret. Regret is not a thing for me. If I make mistakes, if things go bad, if things go south, it is a lesson to be learned, and it is moving forward. I try really hard not to regret things because I made those decisions for a reason at the time.
Perfect.
No
Actually,
regrets.
I don't want to know more. That
Um,
was, couldn't have said it better. Okay. That's it. We don't have to go there. Okay,
well,
so
there you
now
go.
now the
That's
easy
how I.
ones.
Yeah.
I'm giving you a billboard in Times Square and you can put on it whatever you want. What is it going to say?
Um, I mean, it's gonna say I love my
Okay,
daughter
well,
more
I
than
hope she
anything in the
watches this
world.
podcast. And and
No, no, she's only 8. She probably doesn't, but truly, she is a spitfire, and she tests me every single day. And she's the most important thing in my life. So if I ever got the chance to showcase everything that I have to the world, it would be my daughter. And
and
just
so here's the bad
because
news for
she's the
you
most
because I
important.
have four and two of them are girls. Um, she will probably be 30 when she truly appreciates everything you did for her. You know, just like we did with our own
I
parents.
know,
Okay,
I know,
um, who is the
I
person that most
know.
influenced you in your life?
My dad, no question. It's my dad. My dad's my best friend, and he has been my whole life. I mean, obviously we have fought, but I just connect with him differently than I have. And I love my mother too. My mother and I also have a lovely relationship, a wonderful relationship. But my dad understand. I have always been a little bit more into business and marketing and those things. And my mom is a biology teacher and loves science and loves gardening and those things. And so my dad and I connected in a business way really early. And my first job was answering phones in his law office. But he always treated me like a not like a peer, but he always explained things to me. Even when I was very young, he would explain things to me
Hmm.
in a very adult way. And I've carried that on with my daughter, and so he just has always been my sounding board, the person that I go to and the person that inspires me to do the things and to still be kind. My dad has a law practice that in Kokomo, Indiana, that my sister now shares with him, but he has never been one to go after the fee. You know, he has always said, because he does personal injury, and some of his largest cases, that have made him the most money in his life, have been because other people die. And he has always said, I would give all that money back any day of the week
Hmm.
for those people to have their lives again. So that just makes me know that he is a good person deep down, and it's always been that way.
All
So
right, so last
I was raised by the
question.
right man.
One piece of advice you can give to an audience of entrepreneurs, growth marketers, small business owners, um, single moms, divorced moms. What's
Yeah.
what's
Yeah.
what can you tell them as we end this?
I would say don't sleep on the, oh, that was gonna come out the wrong way. Make sure that when you look at the women in your organization or the women that are standing by your side or the women that are your peers, listen to what they have to say. Because even though this world is so male dominated in the business world, there are so many women that have so much good knowledge and can teach you so much about empathy and curiosity and authenticity and how to really bring those to a relationship, um, and how to use all of that to just even be a better person and show up differently. But the other thing I would say, because I feel like I have a lot of entrepreneurs and solopreneurs and coaches in my life these days, in LinkedIn. And the one thing I would say is listen to your gut. Your gut is not wrong. So if something doesn't feel right, if it's just not feeling right, listen to your gut and make that boundary. Say no. Don't do everything. Saying yes to everything is not leaving room for the things that you actually need. So you have to make the boundaries and say no and listen to your gut so that you can make space for everything that the universe is
It's
trying to bring
perfect.
to you.
And I would tell you that in my career when I was hiring people, um, and back then we were allowed to ask questions in the interview. unlike today, right?
Yes.
Or if I didn't ask the question in asking good questions during the interview, you find out. I wanted to know the person behind the resume. I wasn't interested. I mean, the resume is a resume, right? Um, and more often than not, if it was a single mom sitting in front of me, I would hire her unless she completely came across wacko. I would hire them, and
Oh
because
yeah.
they
Mm.
really made they were the best dedicated employees we've always had. I had two that were sales women. They were phenomenal. And one because I felt that I
Yep.
couldn't imagine being a mom with kids and having to go to work and having to drop off your kid somewhere. And I mean, we take it for granted as males, right? It's a huge responsibility.
Yeah.
Although there are more and more
Yeah.
males who take that role, but for the most part, we take it
Yeah.
for granted that what the responsibility is. And so if a single
Yeah.
mom has to go to work and she has to, for whatever reason, um,
Yeah.
and we made accommodations for them. And they said, listen, if your kid is sick,
That's
I
amazing.
don't want you to stress out. Okay. If you can't find a babysitter and if your mother is not available and if you have to run home and pick up your sick child from school, then go. Okay. Then go because
Yeah.
that's
That's
what we're
life.
here for. We're here for, I want you to
Every
come to work every day on your job, feel good about what you do, and know that we're supporting you. So if you have to go, you go. Okay. And it's a
yeah.
courageous decision to make for
Yeah.
anybody who employs single moms, particularly because everybody looks around and say, why is
Yeah.
she getting this? Is it why? Because she's a single mom. Okay. She shut the hell up. Because you don't want to be
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. And people should understand.
Oh,
And they're battle tested, right? I mean, single moms, they got to do it all. So if there's not a better employee on the planet that, I mean, they got to multitask and do all the things and be
yeah.
all the people.
Yeah.
So there's not a better employee,
100%.
in my opinion. So, and I think that
I
the
hope
world is
so.
changing in
Yeah.
that aspect slowly,
Yeah.
slowly,
I
but
hope
I
so.
think we're
And
getting
it
there.
comes down to the owner of the company if they have the right mindset and creating the right culture, which is what I do when I work with the owners as a coach, and say, listen, you can't do this alone. Okay.
Yep.
I don't care how smart you think you are. You're not going to be able to
Yep.
have success without the employees that work for you. And they will not work for you unless they can truly feel that when they come to work, they are fulfilled professionally and personally, and that they know that if they need you,
Yep.
that you will be there for them. The rest, they're going to work out, right?
Absolutely.
And
That's
that's
where
a, yeah, yeah.
culture does not come from ping
No,
pong
no,
tables
that's yeah.
and
Oh
beer
yeah, yeah.
fridges
Oh,
at offices and
we had a
scrum.
great quarter. Let's buy everybody pizza. I said, no, you know what? You know what they say about your pizza? That you can roll it really, really thin and you know what you can do with it. No, let's do a profit sharing and let's reward them and share the wealth because that's how you get them to feel good about what they do. Okay, Ashely Kway-R. This was
Absolutely.
I knew it was going to be fun, so it was. Okay, and I will
Thank you so much for
share how to
having me.
connect you and see all your pictures with your doing a cartwheel holding a soft drink without spilling it. That's a good thing.
It wins me tips and donations at the charity golf
There you
tournament
go.
every year
I
still.
couldn't even pretend to do that. All right. Thanks again for your time, and we'll be in touch. Take care. Bye.
Yeah. Bye, Jeff.